Hey guys, I'm back here with another video that I want to kind of share with you. So I'm getting ready to English wheel this panel. I'm filling in the speaker hole on that T-bird in the dash. And just a quick little trick for your information. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to English wheel inside this picture frame here. And the reason why is because this 1-inch border, I don't want to wheel over this edge. And the reason why is you keep this the same size, or like as what it is now. And I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna stretch this, which is I'm gonna create a convex shape. So with my anvils, as you can see, that's the anvil I'm gonna start with. And then let me see if I can do this. So when I put this on the center line of where I'm gonna start wheeling, it's exactly at the mark, as you could see there. So it won't actually wheel over this edge, but I'm gonna start right on my line and I'm gonna wheel it. And I don't need a lot of convex, but I do need a convex shape for this dash. So I'm just gonna kind of show you guys why this border stays there. Because if you wheel over the whole thing, you're gonna stretch it and it's not gonna wanna grow. It's just gonna keep kind of going further and further out. If you can keep the perimeter the same size what you start with and you wheel only in the center, it's gonna stretch the metal in the middle, and that's what we want. We wanna create that as a convex shape. So I'm gonna start wheeling this, and then I'll kind of get to where I can lay it out on the template and stuff. So. And doing this, it's all about pressure. It's all about your pressure of once you feel comfortable and once you learn how to use it. If I roll off, I'm okay. That is just, when you spin that wheel, it just helps it suck it in, because trying to force it, you're not gonna get it. Because I can always go back to the outer edges and shrink it in the shrinker stretcher to get it. Another thing to do is always keep your hands in the same spot, because it will alter the panel, the shape that it's gonna go. So I'm keeping them both here, and I'm just keeping the material flat and letting the wheels do what they need to do. Your tracks, because all I'm doing is zigzagging this thing back and forth. You want your tracks as close as possible. So as you can see, just one time wheeling it, you could hear it, it's oil canning. So I'm gonna keep going until I get up to my shape, and then I'll just keep checking it. But as you guys can see, the border is the same, and I'm stretching the inside. That's where I'm getting that oil can effect. And the more practice you get at wheeling, because you don't want to go over that as much, but the more practice you get, you'll almost start stopping and starting on these lines. So now I can't even bow it, but you can slightly see the curve I'm putting in it. So I'm just gonna keep doing this, and then when I get closer to my shape, I'll show you guys kind of more or less the finished product before I go to trim it and put it in the dash and go to weld it. All right guys, so I got it, I think, pretty close to what I want. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna show you kind of, for instance, how this kind of works. Let me move all this. So as you can see, here's my panel, and you can see it's touching on the corners, and then I've got a gap here. The way this dash is, I have a little bit of a gap here. So that's the way I wheeled it. I could bring this up more so it's all uniform, so I'm creating a perfect convex shape, but you can see the corners are touching, and it's not off kilter, you know? It's solidly mounted. So what I'm gonna do, it'll have to, let me see if this will work. You can't really see it. Well, anyway, so this is what I'm doing. I'm filling in that hole for the speaker. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna trim one side of this so I can get it up here, because up here is real thin. I don't have much room because it's broke right here. So I'm gonna trim it so I can get my center line there, or my starting line there, and I'm gonna see if I can get this laid up in here. Once I get it laid up in here, my mark doesn't matter, and I'll use a scribe and I'll trace my square and I'll cut accordingly. But then I'll have this dash back to a convex shape. This is another thing that what I've done is, I'm gonna show you, because what happens is if this is too much crown, convex shape, what I can do, believe it or not, I can take this out without destroying the panel. So what I'm gonna do, I'll get it to fit, and if I'm off, because when I cut this, I am gonna lose some of it. I'm gonna lose some of the crown, but not all of it. But what happens, I've kind of went overkill, a little bit too much crown for that dash. It's kind of in the mixture between flat and convex. So what happens is if I can't get it to fit that dash perfect, I'm gonna bring it back over the wheel, to the wheeling machine, and I'm gonna wheel on this edge that I told you not to wheel on at first. And what happens is when I start stretching this and this, all four of these sides, what happens to the center, as you see it's domed and I've showed you in the past, it's gonna go from like this to like this because I'm stretching those sides. That's why I told you not to stretch them to wheel over this edge. And then you bring this up, and if it's too high, which you wanna creep up on it, but it's hard to do with that dash without cutting this. So I figured I would come up, and then if I have to, I can come back down to get exactly what I want. So I'm gonna trim that one edge, get it up in there, and see how it fits. If it's too much crown, I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna stretch these edges. I'm gonna bring some of that crown right back out. All right, guys, so what I ended up doing is I got it sheared. As you can see, I cut off the bottom lip, but I still have the real subtle curve that I need. So I kept fitting it. So what I ended up doing is you've got to be able to read the metal. So this here, if you wheel it over this stretched edge, over this edge that you did not stretch, you're gonna stretch it back out. So I'm taking some of the crown out, but at the same time, when I'm doing that, I'm reading it. So the dash, from the front to the back, it falls very subtle this way, more so this way than this way. So what happens is I went in and I stretched the top and this, and I got it to where it fit perfect. I had too much arch up the front. So then I came back and I stretched that and I brought it back down flatter. Then what I did is I flipped it around to the edge that I sheared off, and I put it on the front side of the dash, and this laid perfect. So I know when I go to cut this edge off and this edge off, it's gonna almost lay perfect. You want it to lay almost perfectly natural on its own, so that's why this is a perfectly square piece. So when I took this edge and I put it to the front, that's exactly what's gonna happen when I cut that end off. But it wanted to sit natural with the dash. So that's when I knew I was right there where I needed to be. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna cut this edge off now in the shear. And then I'm gonna come in and I'll clamp these two sides where these lines kind of line up, and I'll scribe it accordingly. I may have to cut a little bit more off the bottom or a little bit more off the top, but you guys get the gist of kind of what's going on here. You've got to read the metal when you're doing this stuff. So this is just a piece of regular sheet metal that I wheeled up, and then I'll get it all trimmed and fit, and I'll get it with magnets sitting on the dash, and then so you guys can see how it's gonna lay out, and then I'll come in and I'll weld it. All right, guys, so I got both sides sheared, and I got it clamped. So as you can see, I sheared the top, and it's not totally fit perfect, but I started on this edge. This side is kind of butted up to the sheet metal, this side's not. I got these clamps on here, so now I'm gonna scribe this, scribe that, trim it accordingly. But see if you guys can see this. See how it follows the contour of the dash? I mean, obviously it's low right here. I don't know if I can, yeah, see? So it follows the contour dash. It has a light crown in it. But you can also see it from this direction. See, this will get pushed up. but it's pretty smooth. It'll be a nice piece once it's done. So I'm gonna scribe it, and then I'll cut it and trim it to fit, and then I'll clamp it for you guys to see. I'll clamp it as best as I can, like on 4 corners, when it's laying in the sheet metal. And then you'll see where I'm at. And then what I'll do is I'll go in, just like all my other videos with the sheet metal, I'll go in and I'll put a couple tacks to hold it, remove my clamps, position them where I need them, reclamp, tack again to where it's basically just a level playing field. Once I get enough tacks in there, then I'm gonna go in there and start stitching it. And I'll stitch it from, you know, on that panel, I'll probably do around 3/4 of an inch. I'll skip 3 and I'll just start hopping around until I get it totally welded. So bear with me, I'm gonna get this kind of more trimmed, and then I'll get it up in there, and then you guys can see exactly how it fits. All right guys, so I got the panel trimmed, I got magnets on it, so I'm gonna start tacking it. So I'm gonna show you kind of after I got it all nice and fit. As you can see, I'm just using rare earth magnets that you can get. I get these at Home Depot. They're really strong. They hold the panel in place, at least instead of getting clamps in my way. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start tacking it, and then I'll start in between and getting it moved around where I want it, and then I'll start eliminating these magnets. And then once I have it tacked, then I can kind of go in and planish the little bit of welds that I have. And I'll show you guys how you can move the metal around, and then what I'll do is from there I'll start stitching. So let me get it tacked, and then I'll show you how to planish it. All right guys, so I got it all tacked up. I'm gonna show you what it looks like when it's all tacked. So as you can see, I just kind of tacked it, I clamped it, I moved my clamps around to where I got it to where I do over here, if you can see, there's some gap in there. That's nothing that I can't fill with my filler rod, hammer and dolly it, planish it, it'll be fine. All the rest of it is real nice and tight, so all I gotta do is weld it, planish it, and I'll be done. Over here, I might have to work it a little bit, but so I'm gonna start getting it welded, and then I'll show you the techniques of planishing it. So I'm gonna weld that up real quick. It's gonna take some time, so for heat transfer and stuff like that. So I'm gonna take my time, I'm gonna do it correctly. So less warpage, less work on my end, and I'll get back to you guys as soon as I get it welded up. All right guys, so I got it welded up, and I'm gonna show you. So So it's all TIG welded. So you can see the difference here with just my heat transfer. So being TIG welded, I get less distortion. So what I ended up doing is I planished it all out, like hammer on dolly, beat, like stretching it back out. Then what I did is, so like right here, I still have a low spot. So I put it back in the English wheel and I ran over the welds. So I need to get this up right here and then I can come in and grind. But as you can see, it fits perfect in there. And it looks pretty good. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put it back in the wheeling machine, pull this up a little bit. This back here is perfect. Right here I got a low spot, so I'm gonna work that area up, and then I'm gonna come in and grind. And when you grind, with your grinder, you wanna land on this material. This material is probably gonna be thicker than this. So you start here and you skate it across the weld, okay? And as you skate it across, you like kiss it, just vroom, vroom, and pull up. What's gonna happen, you're not gonna make this panel any thinner. This one's already probably thicker than this. So you always wanna work with your thicker stuff. You wanna get all your welds down. You're gonna have imperfections going around the weld. That's when you have to go in and hammer on dolly it, shrink it with the file, like a bumping file, and work up little areas and stuff like that. Once you get it perfect, and then you could run your file across it and just skate across, find your highs and lows, work on those particular spots. And then once you get those, you're pretty much there. But this right here, even with this low spot, that's probably less than a 16th inch of plastic filler. So in reality, I'm not gonna worry about it, but for this, I'm going to. So I'm gonna fix all this, get it all wheeled back up to where this is perfect, and make it metal finished. So I'm gonna get to grinding on that, and then, or I'm gonna wheel it first, and then I'm gonna get to grinding on it, and then after that, I'll show you guys kind of the metal finish process once I get a little bit closer. So I ran it back through the wheeling machine. I got that low spot out. So as you can see, it's pretty much perfect. So I'm gonna kind of set this up so you guys can kind of see somewhat of how I'm grinding. I don't want to get my phone in the, let me see if this will work. No. So I'm gonna hold it and I'm gonna show you just a quick clip. So here's my grinder. I use 36 inch or 36 grit. So what you do is you get it going and you just kiss it. As you can see already, if the light ain't screwed up, let me see. As you can see already, my weld is getting ground down and it's almost getting flush. That little dark spot you see on the other side, that means that's low. So I'm gonna keep grinding. I'm gonna do this whole piece around the perimeter. And then I'll come in with my bumping file and work up just this edge, just a skosh to get rid of that. And when I grind it, it'll be totally smooth. And then after that, I just hit it with the DA to make sure it doesn't have any low spots and stuff like that in it. So just hang in there and I'll get that ground for you, and then you can go from, we could see what we gotta do. Okay, now I got it all sanded. I had to fit I put it in the car so it'll kind of take some of the flex out of the dash, just to fine tune it with the spoon and the dolly, just to kind of skate it around. Other than that, it came out perfect. It's not 100%, but it's less than a 1/16 of an inch of body filler, which is way better than, I guess you'd say, a body shop standard. So a little bit of filler ain't gonna hurt. And I say Bondo, I'm meaning more like it's so smooth, it's more like glazing putty. Fill in some small imperfections, hit it with a sander, but you're gonna sand most of it off. It's just gonna fill some small things. So I'm gonna show you now. So you can kind of see and the light's kind of, there's a line up here that you could vaguely see. I could grind a little bit more, but the way it's transitioned and everything in here, I've got it perfect, a little bit back here, but like I said, a little bit of glazing putty and it'll be perfect. I mean, I could put more time into it, but as you can see, it's pretty smooth. I mean, it's perfect contour, the whole 9 yards. So, hope you guys like this video. This one was a little bit more in-depth. If you guys have any questions, like I said, feel free to shoot over to the comments and post them. I know more and more of you guys are wanting to see more metal, but unfortunately, the EcoBird has come to an end here at the shop for now. So we'll see what else comes in. And in the meantime, I might be working on the planishing hammer or something like that. But I know I do have a couple other projects coming in that involve metal work. Not like this though. It's basically just bend it up and spot weld it in. So I'm gonna keep posting videos, and if you guys aren't a subscriber, go over there and subscribe to my channel, and you guys can get kind of like these little tricks that I'm teaching you guys. So you guys are gonna be more well off around when you go to do stuff like this. This is time consuming. You're not gonna do it in a matter of 5 minutes and try to bill out astronomically prices. That's why when you do go to a high-end hot rod shop or stuff like that, even at my shop, people come and see this kind of work and they're in awe of it, just for the fact that this right here took me 3.5, 4 hours. But that was the whole dash. That was shaving the ashtray, the light, and that top piece. The ashtray wasn't too bad, the light wasn't too bad, but up here, that's a focal point. That's at the top of the dash, everybody's gonna see it. So I try to put a little bit more practice in that. The ashtray that I shaved, as you could see here, it was pretty contoured, but he's gonna upholster from here down. So I'm not gonna charge the customer for me to get this thing perfect when they're gonna put foam over it and wrap material over it. And then that was the map light that I filled. But the top of it, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, see, the curve, everything's there, it's perfect. So that's what everybody focal point's gonna be. I mean, it does sit right in the windshield. It is a Roadster now, so everybody's gonna see that dash. But go over there and subscribe, send me some comments, and I'll post some more videos for you guys. In the meantime, you guys watch some of my other ones, and maybe you guys could pick up a trick or two looking over those videos. Thanks.